Take that, we're five lads, I suppose a boy band you'd call us, perhaps one of the first boy bands, from Manchester or around Manchester. We sang, we danced, we tried to send ourselves up a lot and not take ourselves too seriously. I think we were all quite good lads, good boys, good working class lads, very ambitious and loved to show off and perform and produce nice music and have a good time. So when I went to meet Nigel for the first time, it was a bit weird because he was looking at me. He was sort of weighing me up and down, you know. Because when I was dancing on the stage, when he'd see me dance on the stage, my hair was wet and I was sweating and I was looking different to how I was that day in his office. I'd smartened up a bit, you know.
And you had clothes on, probably.
I had clothes on, yeah. I think, to be fair, Robbie and I got the worst from Nigel. You know, Nigel, I'm not going to be accusatory towards Nigel, that's up to him, but I think I felt like me and Rob got a lot of stick off Nige in the earlier days. Actually right through, but especially in the earlier days. And possibly because we needed it. Nigel, I think, will argue that we were the two lads that needed the most taming, perhaps. But no, Robbie didn't get it worse than me. No way. I met Gary first, and my first impressions were he was nice enough, but he was different. He was from a different place. I'd never met anybody like him before. So he was nice enough, but just a bit strange. But I liked him. And I looked up to him, actually, to Gary. I sort of became in awe of him quite quickly. He played me some of his songs, and then he sang. And he sang beautifully, I thought. You know, I'd never heard somebody sing so nicely. So I was sort of in awe of Gaz straight away, and that continued, actually, throughout the rest of the band. Howard and Mark, I immediately warmed to, because they're both just dead lovely lads. You know, I related to them straight away. Robbie, I just thought he was a bit of a geek at first when I first met him. Gary was obviously the centrepiece, singer-songwriter, the creative sort of nucleus of the band. Mark was probably, he was shorter in height and he was more like a young boy, if you like, so he was appealing to younger girls. Robbie, everyone knew how funny he was and crazy he was, so I guess he was the funny one. And myself and Howard, I think, just made up the numbers at the back. We were the dancers. Nigel had the idea that we had to be quite controversial. We should dress ludicrously. When I look back now, it was ludicrous. Bondage gear and chains and lycra and all sorts of stuff. But we were always excited by it because it felt different and we felt Nigel knew what he was talking about. And he did. He really did. So yeah, we dress ridiculously and we'd do loads and loads of gigs, ranging from, we'd do school halls, you know, where kids are actually at school. We go into their schools and invade their assemblies to do our 2 or 3 songs to backing track, you know. The teachers must be looking at us like, oh my God. All our bondage gear on and these teachers and the pupils are there. We did schools, we did every different type of club, we did radio, road shows, you know, we performed our little routine on stages, 3 foot by 3 foot. We're all crammed on there trying to do our gigs. You know, we just did the most ridiculous things. I don't remember Nigel saying no sex, just don't have any full-time girlfriends, because it was Nigel's idea. He had this idea that if we didn't have full-time girlfriends, then we would be available for our fans, you know, our teen fans, our gay following. As far as money is concerned, the most memorable time for me was when we all got issued a cheque after tax. Yeah, because we had it set up where we took money from our account after paying tax. So I got this cheque and I put it in my bank and I had to go 3 or 4 days later to the cash point and see it on the screen that the money had gone into my bank. and it was a huge amount of money. And I just stood there. I was 24. I was 24 years old, and I'm stood there looking at this amount and thinking, nice one, that's great. To me, the most important thing about Take That, always from the beginning, was our personal relationships, right? And when I felt like we were tight amongst ourselves, I felt like we were kings of the world, okay? Whether it's because I'm from a large family of brothers and sisters and I understand about the importance of unity and camaraderie, but I just always felt good when we were tighter. So when you say about coming home back to Manchester, yeah, I was very proud to come home and do a big gig at a big arena in Manchester, but I don't remember feeling any more proud than anywhere else, really. As long as we were together as a group, doing a great show, I was always proud wherever we were. I think Lulu was gracious enough to make you feel like, you know, you're special with her, and you know, she seemed to dote on all of the boys and, you know, give us all equal attention. But yeah, I felt very close to Lulu for a period. She's a lovely spiritual lady.
Did you give her one?
Did I give her one? I don't remember. If I did, I don't remember. I'm a gentleman.
She says you did.
Did she?
She says you were marvellous.
Yeah, well, that doesn't matter. Yeah. If Lulu says I've given her one and she says I was great, that's fine by me. One time we'd walked into a backstage, I think it might have been a Brit Awards or a Smash Hits, you know, one of those big pole awards. We'd walked backstage where there were other artists, I mean big name celebrities there, and everybody stopped and looked at us when we walked in. And for me, so when I talk about how I always felt great when I felt tight, we were tight as a band, it was sort of during those times. There could be other big names and faces, but people would stop what they were doing and look at us, and I felt like, yeah, you better look at us, because we're tight, we're a band, and we're here. It was a gradual process, really. You know, the growth, the success of the band was gradual, and I think the demise, the falling down, was a gradual thing as well. I just think, gradually, we all got, you know, things became too chaotic. We were all getting too much money, perhaps. Egos became too inflated, and tensions just started to come about amongst us all. Probably I think Robbie was, Robbie always wanted to be more or do more than what he was doing in the band. So he started to cause problems, or to rephrase that, he started to become a problem for us, because he just didn't want to rehearse the routines, and he just didn't want to be he didn't seem to want to be a part of it. Whereas perhaps a year before, you know, when we were enjoying our greatest success, he was more up for it. He seemed as proud as all of us to be part of Take That, and he was doing his job, and it was brilliant. But then at some point, he decided it wasn't enough for him, I think. When Robbie left, I didn't feel that much. For whatever reason, Robbie and I didn't get on that well in the band. I always really liked him. Part of me always liked him and was fond of him, and he always made me laugh. Very funny guy. And I think he liked me in some ways, but we just went against each other. We just rubbed up against one another in the band. I think he thought I was too severe, too strict, and a bit straight, and I thought he was too the other way. I didn't think he was disciplined enough, and anyway, we had this clash. So when he left that day, I wasn't that bothered, really. In fact, I think probably, if I'm truthful, I was probably quite excited by the drama of it all.